first comes across the data. It will stop only when it queries the whole data table. If in case I have a table with 100 million rows of data, it will stop the search only when it hits the last row. So it's a very tedious process. So in order to reduce this load, we use this index. Index helps us to seek the data, like what we have in dictionary. We just go to the particular location, the data and the meaning are in the same location. Similarly, what happens in the index of a book, I just navigate to that index, read, and then we will be able to go. So that's the mechanism that we achieve out of index. Now, what is a big change in this index with a column store index? Index is also stored inside the database along with the data in the same data page. So you can visualize it. For some of you who are new to database, you can visualize it like a book. As a page number is available in the same page where the book's content is available, the index also stays in the same page or same file where the data is available. So it occupies a space in the database, and every row will have a number. So every row must be read in order to retrieve a particular data. Now, with a column store index, a single row will contain all the rows data consecutively. A column completely shifts. The index which was stored one below the other is now stored one next to other. So if I read one row's data, I'll be able to read multiple rows index value. So by which retrieval of data becomes faster. So that's the column store index, and this is one of the very important techniques. This is very useful when you do large retrieval of data. Where do we have this large retrieval of data? Normally in application, there will be only either one insert or one update or one delete or few select statements. Like when we retrieve our inbox from our mail, that might be a select statement which retrieves 20-25 mails and displays it. So this is where we go for a maximum number of querying. Otherwise, when I book a ticket, it is a single rows interaction insert with the database, or when I cancel my ticket, it is a single rows interaction with the database. Whereas, when they retrieve the data for business intelligence, for the analysis purpose, or for reporting services, they will always retrieve bulk data. It needs a macro approach for the data, so bulk volume of data will be restored from the queries will retrieve data from multiple tables, multiple databases for this analysis purpose. So it assumes a lot of resources, and it needs so much pages, it needs a lot of read and write to retrieve this data. Whereas when we use this column store index, it will help them to retrieve the data faster, and this is only for business intelligence. On an OLTP database, when you enable column store index, you will not be able to enter data. So whichever server where we port the data for business intelligence, we can enable column store index, and that server will improve the performance when we have this column store index. So again, about this storage and search index, which I was talking to you about, column store index and full text search. DBAs are a little allergic to this full text search because it carries a lot of querying activity there, because we are so used to this GUI. Possibly we will write a few commands on the SQL CMD. We are a little allergic to this because you have to use this pretext and contents and write appropriate ones. But this full text with SQL Server 2012 has improved a lot, and search in a larger document is also possible. This was something that was introduced with Microsoft OneNote. OneNote gave us a facility that you can also search for the text which is stored inside an image. You can search a file, you can search for a word. A text inside an image is very difficult, and that is possible in SQL Server with this improved full text. And the whole full semantics for this column store index is beautifully designed, that retrieval of data will not affect the performance of SQL Server, and it works beautifully. Again, the storage, lot of new features are available with this database storage. Number one, the UTF-16 character encoding. So far we had only this UTF-8, and UTF-8 was also available only when we were using this XML data. Now on SQL Server we have this UTF-16 character encoding. Apart from this, there are some encryption techniques which I will talk to you in a short while. And we have improved database performance with file stream. File stream is a new feature that was introduced with SQL Server 2008. which enables us to store the data directly on the NTFS system. If you're familiar with Oracle, Oracle treats the blob data separately. Binary large objects and character large objects are treated separately by Oracle. Microsoft did not have any special storage or special technique to treat this blob and clob data. We were storing it either in image data type, or the easy way a DBA would do is when you load, for example, let's take that this is an employee ID or student ID card which we are issuing, for which we are storing your photograph, your student ID, employee ID, all these information in a table. Each person's photographs occupy different sizes. So it is very difficult to predict the size of a photograph and store it inside a table. So Microsoft is using certain techniques like store only the path. When you upload the photograph, we will store it on a local folder, and in the database, a DBA used to store only the path of the file. Wherever the file is located, we used to store it and be very happy about it, because otherwise it will be a very lengthy process. The connection will be open for a very long period of time. Whereas now we have a complete new concept called file stream. By using file stream, we will be directly store the data inside the NTFS folder on the OS. On the NTFS folder, we will be able to store the data. So it might be like a puzzle when I talk about this. Suppose there is a table with 6 columns, and one of the columns carry this photograph. That columnar data alone, the photograph column alone, will be stored on the NTFS folder. Balance 6 columns data will be on the data file. So that's the file stream concept. File stream was introduced with 2008, but Microsoft has introduced something called file table with SQL Server 2012, which gives us an additional functionality to use as file stream. We have spatial data type. Microsoft ventured into spatial data type also with SQL Server 2008, which gives us the support to use geography, geometry, hierarchy ID data types. This was basically designed for the research purposes of US major scientific projects are running on SQL Server 2008 onwards. They have become greater fans. Until then, they were IBM fans. From 2008, to support these research data, to follow that, we have this geography, geometry, and hierarchy ID. Hierarchy ID, any chemical values, which are derivative formulas, you will be able to store it very easily in this hierarchy ID, and you can go to any node level and access the data, or you can find the combination of my node level 1 to node 2 to node 3, how the derivative pattern, we will be able to study it, and that's the spatial data type. The additional value with SQL Server 12 on spatial data type is it is also connected with Bing map. So you want to know where is this geographical location, you can map yourself to Bing map and the spatial data type on SQL Server. You will be able to find out the location itself, you will be able to display it beautifully. That's the new information with spatial data type. And table indexing and partitioning has also improved, like it supports 16K, earlier it was supporting only 18 KB, now it supports 16K with this table index and partitioning. And now on the security perspective, we have what is called as a contained database, which is new to SQL Server. The major headache for any DBA is when we migrate data from one location to another. Until SQL Server 2000, it was an easy job, because when you move the data, your logins will also go along with that. Or if you first copy the login from server instance 1 and restore it on instance 2, and then you back up your database and restore it on the second location, you will be able to map all your logins and your database roles. Otherwise, we will have this orphaned database roles, and it will be very difficult to map them unless you write the alter command and get to know which index, which login is orphaned and which role is orphaned. You have to find out and redo it. And the bigger difficulty is today we use only the GUI to create login. So we have next. We will choose certain properties by checking certain checkboxes, end of which we might not remember what kind of facilities, permissions, and what kind of rights were denied to a particular login. One easy way in SQL Server 2008 is after you create a login, you can right-click the login and generate a script for the login. But when you generate the script, your password is encrypted. Any password in SQL from SQL Server 2005 onwards is encrypted. So and we will not be able to decrypt it. It is